Israel's sworn enemy Hezbollah told Iran it would fight alone if conflict escalates. Israel's counter-strikes have increased in intensity, fueling fears that a truce in Gaza is out of reach. With ally Hamas under attack in Gaza, the head of Iran's Quds force visited Beirut to discuss the risk posed if Israel next aims at Lebanon's Hezbollah, an offensive that could severely hurt Tehran's main regional partner. The conversation turned to the possibility of a full Israeli offensive to its north, in Lebanon, the sources said, as well as damaging the Shiite Islamist group. Such an escalation could pressure Iran to react more forcefully, possibly more openly. At the previously unreported meeting, Nasrallah reassured Khani he didn't want Iran to get trapped into a war with Israel or the United States and that Hezbollah would fight on its own, all the sources said. This is our war, Nasrallah told Khani, said one Iranian source, with knowledge calibrated to avoid a major escalation. The skirmishes in Lebanon have nonetheless pushed tens of thousands of people from their homes either side of the border. Israeli strikes have killed more than 200 Hezbollah fighters and some 50 civilians in Lebanon, while attacks from Lebanon into Israel have killed a dozen Israeli soldiers and some civilians as well. Israeli security sources have said previously that Israel did not seek any spread of hostilities but added that the country was prepared to fight on new fronts if needed. An all-out war on its northern border would stretch Israel's military resources badly. Iran and Hezbollah are mindful of the grave perils of a wider war in Lebanon. Two of the sources aligned with the views of the government in Tehran said, including the danger it could spread and lead to strikes on Iran's nuclear installations. The Beirut meeting highlights strain on Iran's strategy of avoiding major escalation in the region while projecting strength and support for Gaza across the Middle East through allied armed groups in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen, as reported. Khani and Nasrallah want to further insulate Iran from the consequences of supporting an array of proxy agents throughout the Middle East, said John Alterman of Washington's Center for Strategic and International Studies, probably because they assess that the possibility of military action in Lebanon is increasing and not decreasing. In Israel's sights, Khani and Nasrallah between them hold sway over tens of thousands of fighters and a vast arsenal of rockets and missiles. They are main protagonists in Tehran's network of allies and proxy militias, with Khani's elite Quds force acting as the foreign legion of Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Arab and Western diplomats report that Israel has expressed strong determination to no longer allow the presence of Hezbollah's main fighters along the border, fearing an attack similar to Hamas' incursion that killed 1,200 people and took 253 hostages. So once a fighter's free zone, Israel's retaliatory assault in Gaza has killed more than 31,000 Palestinians and laid waste to the coastal enclave. First line of defense. A war in Lebanon that seriously degrades Hezbollah would be a major blow for Iran, which relies on the group founded with its support in 1982 as a bulwark against Israel, and to buttress its interests in the broader region. Hezbollah is in fact the first line of defense for Iran, said Abdul Ghani al-Aryani, a senior researcher at the Sana Center for Strategic Studies, a think tank in Yemen. If Israel were to launch major military operation on Hezbollah, the Iranian sources within the inner circle of power said, Tehran may find itself compelled to intensify its proxy war. At the end, all the participants agreed that Israel wanted to expand the war, and falling in that trap should be avoided as it will justify the presence of more U.S. troops in the region, the official said. The Iranians are pragmatists and they are afraid of the expansion of the war, said Iriani. If Israel were alone, they would fight, but they know that if the war expands, the United States will be drawn in.